What's up, YouTubers? Today we're going to talk about the Chris Reeve knives Inkosi, specifically the large Inkosi with the Insingo blade pattern. Inkosi, Zulu for Chief, is my favorite CRK that you can buy. I'll admit up front, I have never carried an Umnumzan, so like I said, you can't really buy that. Let me know where you can, and I'll be interested in talking. But for the most part, those are one of those things that you just can't get. So this is kind of my favorite from the Chris Reeve line that you can get. Specifically, I do love this Insingo blade. This is kind of their sheep's foot blade pattern. It's kind of my favorite. Not kind of, it is my favorite. It has just enough tip for, puncture duty if you need to, busting into the box in order to carve out basically some handles. For wetting, it was useful. It's just enough belly for slicing. So if you do need to slice, you got just enough of that belly there. And it has just enough positioning for draw cuts. So draw cuts work a lot better than like a drop point, certainly. You know what? I'm going to go ahead and call this my Konzi, which is Zulu for everything knife, because truly the large Inkosi with the Insingo blade pattern is it. If you can't tell, love this knife. It's as good as I think a Chris Reeve knife as you can buy. This particular knife weighs 4.9 ounces. It has 3.55 inch blade. Just I think they documented at 3.65. It's 3.55, but I did go from that little nub there, which is as Colorado law goes, would be the measurement. It's got S45 VN super steel, and it prices at $500 for this base one. You can get ones that have inset, like this particular one is micarta. They have carbon fiber. This just happens to be my Tonto. You can tell it's kind of one of my favorites. And actually, I will talk a bit briefly about it now. Speaking of the pocket clip, there are aftermarket clips that are flatter in your hand, a little bit easier on life. And yeah, that's jumping a little bit ahead on the pocket clip. Actually, you know what? We'll just jump right into it now. The pocket clip is not bad, great for carry, but it just has a little bit too much pride there when you happen to be in a kind of full hammer grip. A little bit, that's we're jumping into one of the two cons that I found on this entire knife. So pretty awesome. In terms of like some and this knife price is at $500 for the base. I think I might have already said that. Okay, in terms of some comparatives or alternatives, I think the Hinder knives XM18 slicer grind, it's definitely in that range. It's 4.8 ounces. So again, this one was 4.9 ounces, very similar in weight. Those go for $425, though it is not full titanium. It does have a titanium with this particular one. I actually put carbon fiber aftermarket, but they normally have G10 overlay. I think a Spartan Harsey folder is definitely in the realm of possible blades. Again, USA made frame lock. And this particular knife, full tie, is 6.1 ounces. The base price is $500, but you can get all sorts of fancies for just a little bit more money, as I chose to do. One thing I'm going to show real quick, if you take a look on the lockbar relief, Spartan Harsey does it right, or as right as can be, which is puts that on the interior. I'm jumping forward to one of the pros of this knife already. Well, that's okay. And then of course, you can't really compare the Inkosi without comparing it to the Sebenza. So I think the Sebenza, this is the large, specifically 4.5 ounces is this one. Again, a base model is the same, $500. This particular one having G-Carta inlays just goes for a little bit more. So, and also this one happens to have double lug, and then this is a glass blasted versus the aluminum oxide. So that's kind of really, I think, your comparisons or alternatives in the range of this knife. Let's jump into the pros of this. This knife has beautiful, gigantic phosphor bronze washers, which, boy, just give them a couple years. This knife is a couple years old. I think, I did not get it for, it wasn't 500, it was 450 actually at the time. So a couple years ago before they raised their prices, and they just work in so smooth. You can actually backside flip it after a while. It doesn't flick. You can flick it down, but it's just so smooth. So just absolute beautiful action. I have never cleaned this, carried it, and used it tons. You can even kind of see where the little ceramic ball is working in on the blade there. So yeah, on the back of the tang there. This knife is nearly flawless. I already kind of talked about the best blade shape. I really do love this. It has a hand convex edge, which I have never had to sharpen this knife after lots of use. There's one tiny, tiny little ding on there where I must have just hit, I don't know, maybe a thick staple or something along the way. And otherwise, I've just had to strop it. And it's just about as good as it was when I first got it. So, yeah, it's absolutely excellent. The jimping on the back of here is fantastic. It's just secure, but there's no sharpness at all in the saber grip there. So yeah, the it's awesome. By the way, this is not a fire steel notch. That's actually used for indexing of actually holding the metal in placement in terms of when they're grinding and stuff. So that's really more for manufacturing, but it doesn't look entirely awful. It's kind of symmetrical in size to where the thumb studs go in there. So if you kind of take a look at that, but no, don't try to because it's extremely smooth there. So you're not going to be able to try it. I've tried it, yes, and it did not work at all. This knife by default has double lugs, so the regular Sebenza does not. This particular Sebenza model does, but by default they do not. And so, yeah, there's some degree of ambidexterity. If it's in your left hand, you can go ahead and open it left-handed. There's also plenty of space there for you to get in, and after you work in those washers, it's just you really can. This thing's very safety, and just slap in your left pocket or otherwise, if you want to. Not best to have the blade interior, but they do sell left-handed ones as well, where the lock bar will be on this other side. So, it's got some degree of ambidexterity out of the box. This has their blast finish, which I actually like better than their, or this is their aluminum oxide blast, which in retrospect I do like better than this glass. The glass is okay, and I think it's just not as this one provides the best balance of grip and really blemish defense. I just love it. I think nobody actually does it better. Maybe Sawtooth Dave, but he's a custom man. In any case, this balances carry and weight of toughness. It's just a little bit thicker blade stock than a Sebenza. I think that was 0.14. This is 0.16. Or maybe that's 0.12, 0.14. It's just 0.02 inches thicker blade stock. So it has a little bit more muscle to it in terms of that, So again, for me, that's a plus. For some people, they're looking for just slicing only. Sebenza might be their preferred. So that's kind of your mileage may vary, but for me, definitely a pro. The internal lock bar relief, I already did talk about that with the Spartan Harzy, and if you take a look, Sebenza Chris Reeve Knives does it right. There's no catch on your pocket or whatever. So I don't know why. I mean, obviously it's probably something to do with manufacturing or otherwise. Maybe the sensitivity of the detent. I'm not sure. But these that are cut internally are better. Just in for hand experience, it's better. And well, not so much hand, but sorry, in pocket. When you're pocketing this thing, it's just better. So yeah, this thing just oozes with positives. Of course, we got to get to the cons. Already talked a little bit about the pocket clip. I wouldn't say it's a big con. I didn't really have a big problem with it, and it didn't catch on a lot of stuff. It caught a little bit on doors, but it has a nice little fold on that bill, so it's not just like a bill sticking up like that. It kind of has that fold over, which is nice. Like I said, it didn't catch on as many doors and things as I thought it might. But really, of course, the huge elephant in the room we have to talk about is these thumb studs are deplorable. So it's not for the faint of heart. It's somebody that, I will say this one being kind of worked in so much, it's not the worst. Okay, it is the worst, but it's not too terrible once you get the knife kind of worked in, and it really doesn't even hurt too bad with the left hand. So the thumb studs, obviously, Chris Reeve is just... it doesn't need to be talked about anymore. It's an awful thing. Overall, this is the best for CRK money. I think CRK that money can buy, genuinely. I've never carried any Muzan, as I already said, but I think pound for pound, based on the price of this, the toughness of it, everything, the size, the scope, the carry, is just absolutely excellent. I think the in single blade is also, if you're only gonna get one CRK, for my money, it would be any of the large with the in single blade, whether that be the Sebenza or the Inkosi in this particular case. I think you're going to be hard pressed to find a better, more refined USA made frame lock knife out there. And so, yeah, for me and my money, this one I think does just beat the Sebenza on most fronts. Like I said, it's just for myself, especially for the utilitarian, draw cuts, that sort of thing. Try to do draw cuts on a draw point blade like this, and you're gonna have a tough time. Yeah, it does have maybe a little bit better piercing on that one, but yeah. So I hope this was of use. If not, interesting, and I appreciate the like and subscribe if it was. Have a great day. Take care. What's up, YouTubers? I got it upside down. What's up, YouTubers?